Diet, which I don't usually even do diets, and you can kind of see I am not in great shape, but has been on a low carb diet, and she suggested that I do that, and I was pretty unequivocally adamant that I do not do that. I have no desire to be on any diet that eliminates or radically reduces certain food groups from my diet. So I decided to at least look around and see what there was and what research says and what kind of findings there were as to diets that work well, and find something that could work well for me in a long ongoing basis, because as far as I see it, I can lose weight fairly easily. Around 20 pounds, I get to about 20 pounds, I usually level off, and then I don't, I hit that usual plateau, and I don't get much further than that, which is frustrating. But I know from past experience, from speaking to health advisors and dietitians and stuff, that I need to make healthy food choices, but that I need to have a routine and practices that I can continue on a long-going basis, that if I do lose pounds, that I am able to maintain that, and I'm not going to maintain it by continuing to eat the way that I was. So I wanted to find a diet that worked well for my tastes and for the kind of foods that we eat in this family, and that will be helpful in eating hopefully less of the sweet, sugary foods that I really like to eat, and less of the high fattening foods that I like to eat. I don't have a big problem with limiting them. My problem is not having them, and my problem is when I am somewhere where those options are available and they are easily accessible, I do not have a lot of self-discipline. So I am not very good at saying no when it comes to foods that I really like, things that are very rich, things that are very sweet, like cheesecake, like lasagna, like apple crumble with vanilla ice cream and caramel, that kind of stuff. So I feel like this Mediterranean diet should be, it has a lot of the kinds of foods that I really enjoy eating that have good flavor. It does not cut out any food groups. It doesn't require me to massively moderate my carb intake. And I am very, I very well understand the importance of eating whole grains, and I like whole grain breads. I don't mind whole grain pasta and stuff like that. I think the only problem I have is I'm not fond of brown rice, but most of the rest of it I actually prefer whole grain, so that's not really a big problem for me. But anyway, I'm going to be making fish piccata. Now, I've never made this before. I have made chicken piccata once. Usually I get chicken piccata as an already pre-prepared dish that's made, that's just pre-packaged and sold at the store in a box. I think like Michael's or something like that. I'm not sure of the brand, but I think it's like Michael's. But this will be a little bit different. This is going to be from scratch, and this will be fish piccata, and I'm going to use trout. The recipe asks for 1 pound of trout. I have 2 pounds of trout here. Okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna get the pan started heating up so that when I get around to actually cooking, it will be nice and hot. So this is this is a 1/4 cup of oil. And I'm putting this on medium high. All right, and the recipe says to have 3 tablespoons of butter. You start out putting 2 tablespoons of butter in here. I'm not too sure about doing that, but I'm going to follow the recipe this time around. So that is 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, this burner here, it can be put on a full-size burner, which is a little bit smaller than this pan, or it can be put on a small burner, which is like the size of a really tiny saucepan. So I'm putting it on the full burner. I am going to get a lid out for this pan. There we go, that's the right one. Now, so while that is heating up, I'm just going to get water boiling for couscous. Here, I'll show you. So couscous is this awesome little side dish that's just made from a small grain. It's really easy because all you do is, especially with a small grain couscous, you just heat up the water to boiling, and then once it starts boiling, you add the same amount of couscous as you put water in it. You stir it up, you put a lid on it, take it off the burner and you let it sit there for a few minutes, and then you go and take a big fork or spoon or whatever and you fluff it up and it's ready to go. So super easy, and we like it. We think it tastes good. You can pretty much add whatever you want to it, and it'll kind of take the flavor of whatever you put in it. So a lot of times we'll put just some butter or some gravy or whatever sauce that that our meat leaves behind, or whatever sauce we're cooking with. In this case, it's piccata, so we'll have some nice piccata sauce to put in with it. Yep, that one fits. All right. Okay, so I'm going to let those heat up while the fish oil is heating up, or while the olive oil is heating up for me to cook the fish. I am going to start seasoning the fish. So what I have here, I pre-measured as much as I could. This is 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of garlic, 1 teaspoon of oregano, and I think it's a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Okay, so I will sprinkle that on the top of these. I will rub them in, and then I will go wash my hands. And I did wash my hands before I started, so. All right. And the other side is the scaly side. The scales have been removed, but it still looks scaly. I'm a very graceful person. I am pretty messy. I tend to spill and slop a lot on myself and on other things. So don't be surprised. This is just a reality for me. But it all comes out in the wash. So it's all good. And I hear that butter going, that oil. So I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. Okay, now I have to dredge the fish in flour, and then I will put them in the pan one at a time. It's supposed to just be a light coating of flour, and then shake it off. And then put it in the pan. I'm going to set the timer after I get the flour dredging done. It's supposed to be 2 to 3 minutes on each side. So hopefully I don't take too long with this. And I'm starting it on the scaly side, just because I think that's the best way for me to do it. I don't know that I'm right about that, but that's my assumption. I needed a little bit more room because the pan is running short on room. I still have enough flour, so I'm glad about that. I did have to add a little extra flour since it was twice as much fish as what the recipe called for. Alright. So I've got that going for 2 minutes. I'm going to wash my hands and then I'm going to tend to the couscous because the water is boiling. Turn that off. Okay, so like I said, you just take the already boiling water off the burner. You pour in all of the couscous, the same amount. So I had 2 cups of water, 2 cups of couscous. You stir it up. Okay, and there will be a lot of excess liquid right now, but this absorbs quite a bit pretty quickly. So you just do that. Put the lid on. Okay. Okay, and you're supposed to do this for 4 minutes. So we had a couple minutes already on there. Once that timer goes off, we'll add another 2 or 3 minutes to it, and the couscous will be ready to be stirred and served if you want it that soon. I am going to wait a bit on serving though. Now, the fish is almost ready to be turned, so what I'm going to do is wait for it to turn, and then I'm going to deal with the sauce, the mixture for the sauce, which is capers, artichoke hearts, lemon juice, I think it's a little bit of butter, and that's pretty much it. Okay. Alright, so we're going to add, I'll do 2 minutes and then I'll check on the couscous. Okay, gonna flip these. I will try to flip them in the order I put them in, although I'm not exactly sure. So it might be the order I put them in and maybe a little bit off. Alright. Okay. It's looking nice. And I'm glad I have this extra large pan because there is no way I could fit this much into one of the regular size skillets. Alright, so that's got 2 minutes on it. So once the couscous timer goes off, I think I'll need another extra minute on the fish. Okay, so I have already measured out. I took about 1/4 of a jar of artichoke hearts and I cut them in quarters. The jar was about 32 ounces. So 1/4 jar of 32-ounce artichoke hearts. And then I added 4 tablespoons of capers. These little teeny round things. Let's see if you can see it. I don't know. These little round things are capers. They have a nice tart taste, which is one of the things that I like about piccata, is that nice tart flavor. And I don't mess with the whole artichoke plant. I just get them in the jar because it's so much easier. And then that way I'm only getting what I actually need and not a bunch of extra. Alright, so we're going to open this up. And then I take this little scoop here and just stir it up, and you're just trying to fluff it up. You can use a fork too, but in these pans I don't want to be using metal or sharp edges. These pans have actually lasted us the entire 20 years that we have been here, and these were not even pans I bought. These were pans that got mixed up in my storage items when I had my stuff sent from the military from Korea to America. There was some kind of mix up and I got somebody's box of pans and they somehow got my box of pans. And these are like, I don't know if you can see this, but the edges are nice and thick. They don't like bow in the middle, not on the saucepan, not on the skillets. The coating has lasted a good long time. Thank you, Charity. I love couscous too. It's awesome. Okay, so anyway, it looks like it's pretty fluffed up, and I need to tend to the fish. So again, we have trout. Okay, and what I need to do is flip it over and check and see if it is done on the inside. So I'm going to take the fattest piece, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to take a fork and check the really meaty side of it and see if it looks like it is done all the way in. And it is not. It still needs some extra time. So I'm going to flip that back over again. And I will set the alarm for another, I think I'll set it for another 2 minutes because it looked like it still needed quite a bit of cooking there. So, timer 1, 2 minutes. All right, so that's going. Couscous is ready. I'm just going to put a lid on it until I'm ready to serve it. Keep it off the burner. Okay, so we have the artichoke hearts and the capers, juice from 2 lemons that I already squeezed here, which I'm going to just pour this in here, and I am going to let it sit the whole time that the other food is cooking until it's time to put it in. I am going to put it in the refrigerator though. All right, so we got almost a minute left on the meat. Once the meat is done, I'm supposed to remove it from the pan and put it on these paper towels while I take care of the sauce. And I'm done with this, so I will put it in the sink. And I am also going to start arranging the plates so that they are ready. We have 5 people in our house. We have 2 adult men and then me, and then we have 2 younger, I'll say 1 teenager, 1 young adult. All right. So let's try this again and see how it's looking. It's looking better, but I'm still gonna need like another minute or 2, I think, on it. So what I'm gonna do is flip it over to the silvery side. I'm gonna put the lid on it and set it for, I'll set it for 1 more minute, and I'll check the smaller ones since that one was a particularly thick piece. And I had 2 spatulas there because, let me show you this one. This one I really like, and I use it for omelets, but I also use it when I have large pieces of meat that I need to get flipped over, or when I have meat that falls apart pretty easily, like fish. And a lot of times when I cook trout or salmon, I will actually bake it in the oven, and usually I need that and another spatula together just to get underneath it and lift the whole thing up and flip it over. This I cut into pieces so that it's not so difficult to handle. Let me think. So we are done with the flour, but I'll deal with that later. The butter we're going to use with the sauce. And it's looking nice in there, so I'm thinking that should be good. And I also, I think I had put in my description that I have some announcements. So me and my husband are going to be going on a cruise, and I did not even realize that it was already coming up. We actually leave tomorrow. I knew that I was not going to be here for next week's stream, but I did not realize that we were actually leaving this soon. Craig told me yesterday, and I was like, what? It's already time to leave tomorrow? And yeah, so tomorrow, the ship is supposed to be leaving at 4 p.m. We are supposed to be there around 1:30. I've been on 2 cruises in the past, and the first one I went on was like on a really small ship, but it was still fun and it was still nice. And the next one was on a Norwegian cruise ship. It was really big. We went to the Bahamas. I think that was probably a 3 or 4 day cruise, and that was a ton of fun also. The only complaint we got from my youngest, Talon, was that the bacon was like cardboard. Like, we all like bacon except for Ben. Ben is a pescatarian, which means they will eat vegetarian items and they will eat seafood items, but that's it. The rest of us like bacon, and Talon loves bacon. So this bacon was really thin and it was like cardboard, and he hated it. A plate, or they go and get a plate, and they literally filled the entire plate with bacon. Alright, that is looking much better. And the little ones are definitely done. Okay, so I'm gonna take this over here. We're gonna put that there. And I'm gonna leave them in this position so that they're scale side down. This is the one that I was testing, so it's kind of beat up from me breaking it open and playing with it with the fork and flipping it over multiple times. Alright. And now we're going to take this. I'm not going to, well, I guess I could try to show you a little bit. But I'm going to take this, put it over here. And then I'm supposed to add the remainder of the butter, which should be about a tablespoon. I honestly don't think it needs this much. I would say that if I make this again, I will probably leave the butter out completely and just use the olive oil. But for right now, just for this time, I will try it this way. Alright, so we have the artichoke hearts with capers and lemon juice, and I'm going to mix this up, and then I'm going to start slowly adding the capers and artichoke hearts. down. That looks yummy. I think it looks yummy. Alright, I'm going to put this bowl here. I'm going to put everything except the spoon, I think, over here. The sink. The flour there to deal with later. Alright. I'm going to let this sit on the burner while I go and serve the couscous, and then I will come back and put the fish in and get a nice little coating on it. Alright. Okay, so of the people in my house, the men eat a lot, of course. The full-grown men that have been men for like 20 years, 30 years, they eat a lot. The young man that is just 20 years barely eats anything. And my gender-neutral kid, Talon, the youngest one, they eat even less. Like, really barely eat anything. It is a chore to get these kids to eat. Alright. So I'm going to put big scoops on the men's. I will put a average scoop on mine. And I will put smaller scoops on Talon's and Ben's. Alright. And both my kids are transgender. One is transgender, assigned female at birth, but is male. The other was assigned male at birth and is gender neutral. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why so many people have a problem with this. There is nothing wrong with your gender identity not meshing well with the sex you were assigned at birth. Because frankly, sometimes it just doesn't fit very well. I consider myself gender neutral. I do not fit very well with a lot of the feminine gender norms. I don't agree with a lot of them. I have a lot of issues with that whole thing, with my body, with all of it. And I don't see it as them having a psychological problem. I don't see it as a problem. I see it as their identity just does not fit well with what society says that they were born as. And I wish people would stop attacking people that are trying to help people that are transgender, because frankly, it is not easy. Like, just finding health care that they need for their particular issues is a challenge. It's difficult. And we've got people claiming that kids are getting surgeries and that people are being forced to switch genders on a whim and all this stuff, and that is not what is happening. These kids, the kids that come out early, they go through therapy for quite a long time. They see multiple doctors. They have to go through a lot of stuff before they get approved for anything. Anyway, that's my dish on the matter. All right, these are looking good. So I'm going to turn this off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my camera because it is on a wire. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to take it over to the pan so you can take a quick look at it. And then I will add the fish back to it. And let's see there. So that's the artichoke hearts and capers and lemon juice and oil and butter. Okay, and let's get this back on there. All right, So now I'm going to put the fish back on there, and I'm going to try to get it coated with that sauce and then serve it. And then I will probably call it a day and let you guys go. I am going to be working on doing some reaction videos. So my goal is to do reaction videos for House of the Dragon and Handmaid's Tale, but those don't come out for at least a couple months. So in the meantime, I am going to be doing reaction videos to Dairy Girls just to get some practice in before those other shows start. Okay. And now, because my 2 younger children don't like to eat very much, they're going to get smaller pieces, obviously. And us grown people will get larger pieces. Now, to me, trout is a lot like salmon, and I love salmon. So I thoroughly enjoy that kind of fish. And that means I will probably want a considerable amount. But I do know that I'm on a diet, so I need to be a little bit more careful with how much I'm serving myself. Alright, so let's start with the min folk. Put that one there. Put this one here. And then I'm going to put... Whoa, mine just went upside down. And I tried to flip it over onto the plate, and it was just like, nope, not doing it. So let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3, flip. Alright, I'm making quite a mess here, but who cares? Alright, I'm going to give my kid Talon, that doesn't eat very much, like the tip of one of these. And then the other kid will get the rest. And it looks like all of my skin came off, so I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna put it on my plate. There. All right, and then I got lots of this yummy capers and artichoke hearts in lemon and oil, and I am going to put a little bit of that on each plate. And some on the couscous. Right. It's like a perfect amount. It's like this amount of fish and artichoke hearts and everything else seems to be like just right. Now the couscous we have extra of, but that's okay because we can use the couscous later. It is awesome for pretty much anything. All right. Got it going on. Okay, there's like a little bit of sauce left, which will probably be good in the leftover couscous. I will take a little taste in a little bit, but what I plan on doing for Charity, you said me too. What was the me too about? Because I wasn't paying attention whenever you texted that. So let me know what that was about. So anyway, what I'm planning on doing, since we are going to be on the cruise next Friday, is if I have a signal, it should be the day before we come back. If I have a signal, I will try to love fish, especially, yes, yep, love salmon. So what I will do is try to stream if I have a good enough signal. If I don't, I won't. I will wait until I come back, probably till I come back home. But I'll just be talking about my cruise. So we're going to Puerto Rico not the first day. It'll actually be the second or third day. So the second or third day we'll arrive in Puerto Rico, which is our first port of call. The next day will be the Santo Domingo, and then the next day Grand Turk. And cruising is fun. I do recall that last time we went on a cruise, waiting for permission to get on board and all of that seemed like it took forever. I even remember, this was something I think my kids will remember probably forever. My youngest kid does not like cruises, does not want anything to do with cruises. They didn't want anything to do with cruises, frankly, even before the bacon incident. But after the bacon incident, it made it just that much worse. Like, they have no desire to go on a cruise. The other one is not that picky about it. But when we went on the cruise that we took our kids the last time, there were like armed guards in the waiting area that we were in, which was definitely freaking my kids out a little bit. And it was freaking me out a little bit too. I mean, me and Craig were both in the military and everything, but it's just not something that I associated going on a cruise with, having these armed guards like in military. I think they were in military uniforms, at least it seemed like it. Like literally walking around the perimeter with M16s. So that was something. That was definitely something. Okay, I am gonna shut this down. Let me go ahead and take a taste and see how this tastes. Alright. I know it looks kind of bright in here. Let me turn the light off and see if I can get some of that brightness down. It'll probably be too dark. Yep, it's too dark. Let me try my phone. Get some light from my phone going. Like just here. Ooh. Okay. Let me see. No. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to turn the light back on. Take a taste. Alright. Yep. Yeah, see, I thought that the flavors of the trout and the piccata flavors together would be great, and it really is. It goes so well together. Yep, this was good. So, if you ever want to give it a try, it's pretty nice. I'm enjoying it. But I'm going to turn this off so I can get my food to the rest of my family. And let's see, Charity says, excited to hear about it. Have tons of fun. Yes, I will. Thank you, Charity. You are a great friend. Send recipe to... Yes, I am going to... Pardon my... I have food coming out of my mouth. I am going to actually make a video of this. I'm going to post it on YouTube, and in the description I'll put the recipe. I am planning on making a blog on Wix, but I don't know what's going on there. Something caught in my throat and now it's like being silly. So I'm going to make a blog on Wix, but it's not going to be a pay-for version, so it'll still have all the Wix stuff on it. And I've got like one blog entry on there, and I'll slowly get a few more on there, and then once I get a few on there, I'll go ahead and publish it, and I can put the recipe in there also. So anyway, it was nice seeing you, Charity, or hearing from you, Charity. I knew Charity from when I was in the military. She was married to one of the men who she is no longer married to. I'm pretty sure she says good riddance to him, so But she was a good person. She is a good listener and a good friend. Yep, 25 years. 25 years we've been friends. It's a long time ago. Like, time is going by so fast. It's amazing. And we both have like full-grown kids now. And her kids have like lots of their own kids. My kids don't have any kids. They both are pretty adamant that they don't ever want to have kids, but I know that sometimes changes. We'll see. I'm pretty sure the older one is never ever going to want kids at all. The younger one, that may change. They're just a little bit more, I think, probably willing to partake in that kind of endeavor, I'll say. All right. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Charity, for joining me. I'm going to let you go now. Bye.